And this tip was huge because it not only was a huge lead in the investigation, but it also forced the hand of the police to finally get together and realize this is actually a missing person. And the car was in fact Jennifer's car. But interestingly enough, it wasn't abandoned on the side of some back road or highway or wooded area or something like that. It was just abandoned in the parking lot of an apartment complex, right there in the open, an apartment complex called Huntington on the Green. Now, this apartment complex was insanely close to Jennifer's condo, only about 1.2 miles away. So the investigators went over, they started looking at the car, but it wasn't super helpful as far as clues go because there was no sign of Jennifer or any of her missing things like her purse or her phone. It also didn't look like the car itself was a crime scene at all. It looked almost like she had just parked it there and then went and visited a friend. So the investigators reported that not only was there no evidence in the car, but also that they believed that it had likely been cleaned by whoever left it there. Now, there was some good news and some bad news about the discovery of the car. The good news is that the apartment complex had security cameras, and they were actually up and running and working. Half the time, places either have fake cameras to give some sort of false sense of safety, or cameras that are real but just not working because there's tech issues. But in this case, the investigators were able to take a look at those cameras. And when they did, they actually caught something. It was around 12 p.m. on the day that Jennifer's family reported her missing. And at that time, her Chevy Malibu pulled into the apartment complex, and it parked right in that parking spot near the pool area. Then, somebody got out of the car, but just one person, not two. And Jennifer was nowhere to be seen. This person getting out of the car was not Jennifer. And this person just got out of her car and walked off like nothing had ever happened. Now, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of this episode, I highly, highly, highly recommend, just even briefly, checking out the YouTube version of this episode, because I'm about to put a surveillance clip in, and I'm playing it while I'm talking, so you watching the video will be able to see it, but let me describe it. And let me just say, too, it's a terrible clip. It really is. When I first heard that they had caught this person of interest on camera, I was super excited, but the clip is just very, very bad quality. But there are two different angles, one from farther away and one that's a little bit closer. Now, the one that's further away is literally just a white blob. It almost looks like a video from one of those ghost hunting shows where they say they caught some sort of ghost or something like that. That's how bad it is. The closer clip is still pretty bad. You can never really get a solid view of the person's face or anything like that because the clip itself skips a few seconds, but it's at least something. The camera angle also made it so that the perpetrator was walking behind a fence. So literally every single view that they were getting from this camera, the person's face was behind a fence post, which it's so crazy because what are the odds of that something like that even happening? But again, at least it was a little bit more helpful in all of this. It gave the police a slightly better idea of who the person was, and it also helped to create a description of a person of interest. Now, I've seen some sources that indicate that this person of interest is a man. But from what I can tell, even when the FBI later got involved, they never indicated whether it was a man or a woman because they just couldn't really tell, if we're being honest. However, they do believe that the person was between 5 feet 3 inches and 5 feet 5 inches. The clothes that they were wearing have been debated on, especially online. Some people say it looks like the person is dressed in more of a blue-collar type outfit, like a construction worker. Other people say it looks like a security guard uniform. But personally, when I look at it, I struggle to see either of those two options. It almost looks like just a t-shirt and pants to me. But again, it's really hard to tell. So if you're watching the video version, I am definitely curious to know what you think in the comments. Now, the investigators had said that the most important thing to make note of was the person's hairstyle and body type. And at the same time, the investigators were literally contacting local hair salons, telling them to be aware of somebody coming in and changing their hair from the style in the video to something completely different. And another thing that I found interesting in all of this, which again, I can't really even tell from the video clip, is that the investigators noted this specific person had, quote, unusually large feet compared to their height. Which it seems like a random tip, but it could still be helpful if anybody knew somebody who matched that description. So needless to say, finding the car and catching the person of interest on camera, it really did ignite this case. The police tried to do what they could with the information that they had,